Good morning. So I got a little bit of tech here for brakes. Obviously they're pretty important. Stopping is cool. And like I tell the race car people, don't use your brakes, they just slow you down. Don't actually take that as advice. That's terrible advice. So I got a brake pad here, and it's awful skinny. I wonder if I have some new ones on the shelf. I got some brake shoes on the shelf. That's not going to work very good. So anyway, when they get this thin, it starts to wear out your brake rotor. Terrible. It's not good. And that's when the squeaks start happening. So what's actually happening when you get a brake... Oh, that's a loud dump truck. What's actually happening when you get a brake squeak is this pad is actually rattling on the brake rotor, as you can hear. Hear that? That's what you're hearing, but at a much higher frequency, because this thing's actually vibrating at whatever frequency that it makes noise at. And then what'll eventually happen, see that shiny part right here, this, and you can see some of the rust is worn off right here. So what's happened is this brake pad has gotten thin enough that it's chewing into the brake rotor, and it makes that grinding sound you hear anytime you're driving your car. That's bad. That's real bad. Hear that? That's my thumbnail on the brake pad, or the brake rotor, excuse me. So that's bad. That's real bad. So this one looks like the parking brake shoe, this inside here. Looks like that guy was fine. But the service brake, or the main brakes, or your hydraulic brakes, however you want to put it, was bad. Real bad. Like, that brake pad was trash in it. So, the question I get all the time is, why do we replace brake rotors? So, factory brake rotors are actually thin enough nowadays, and brake systems are high enough performance that if you cut that brake pad, or that brake pad, I mean you can, but it's not going to do you any good. Those are junk. So, the reason you can't cut a brake rotor anymore is, one, it's got so much thermal load on it that it needs this thickness to dissipate the heat after every stop. The other reason is they make them thin enough that after you cut them, they warp. They'll not stop right. And also, it's way more economical to just swap out this brake rotor for a new one, especially when it looks like this, instead of resurfacing this one. Because, like me, I like shiny new stuff, I like clean stuff, I like nice stuff. And this brake rotor doesn't look so good. I'd have to paint it, and then I'd have to cut it. Do you really want that much more shop labor on something that I can just buy and put on your car? I wouldn't do that. Not to mention, it stops way better with new brake pads and new brake rotors. Or if you got drums and shoes, and hardware kit. So anyway, the only other thing I would recommend when you're working on your brakes is I would do a brake flush. No, that doesn't mean that we're washing this. It doesn't mean we're cleaning this or anything. I've actually got a pickup truck here I can show you. Let's take a walk in here. We're flushing that. That's your brake fluid. That stuff's nasty. You shouldn't be able to see the dark color like this. So you want this color to be nice and bright and clear, like water, not nasty like diesel engine oil. What that dark color is showing you is contamination in the brake system. And if you don't like buying more parts than you need, I highly suggest doing a brake flush, because brake systems collect water as you use your car. So the recommendation is to do a brake fluid flush on your vehicle every 2 years. That's 2. So basically what's happening is the brake fluid is hydroscopic, which means it gathers water. I think that's the name. I'm just a mechanic, like I know English that well. So it gathers water the whole time it's exposed to the atmosphere, like sitting in your brake fluid reservoir, because there's a vent to it. And it'll gather water the whole time, and it turns acidic, and then that black color that you're seeing is contaminated brake fluid. There's testers out there that'll show you how much water your brake fluid has gathered, but they're not real accurate. I just suggest doing it every 2 years. And it's not because I like changing fluids. That's not what it is. It's because when you get water in the system, that thing's going to boil off, and then you're going to have basically vapor in a hydraulic system. And if you went through any kind of physics class, you understand that you can't compress a liquid. So gases compress. So when you boil off your brakes, what's actually happening is you're making a vapor inside the brake caliper, and then it makes that spongy feeling that you get in your brakes, and then it's not transmitting the pressure that you're putting on the brake pedal to the caliper, and then it doesn't stop. And then you panic going down a freeway, and I don't know. You can use your imagination at the rest of it, I guess. Anyhow, stop in, we'll take a look at your brakes, make sure they're all good to go. We actually measure them. We have a tool to measure how much brake pad you got left. And yeah, we'll suggest a flush if it needs it. Highly recommend it. I do it every couple years. I do it every year on my race car, and I do it every couple years on everything else I own. Saves a lot of money on brake components because it's not eating things. Anyway, give us a call, text, voicemail. Carrier pigeon, I think, was an option. You can send me a message on Instagram, Facebook. 208-546-9365 is the number for the shop. See you guys.